What's up, y'all? Welcome to another Successful Sundays. And this one's absolutely very special and near and dear because we're going to talk about goal setting. This year in 2024, I did a lot of goal setting actually in 2023, around this time in 2023. So now that I've been able to take what I've learned, I want to share with other people so that they can be just as successful in 2025. So we're going to be going through a bunch of notes that I made that was helped me be successful in 2024, and I just hope that it resonates and helps you as well. There is a free guide you could download it, it's in the description, and that's something you could also use after the fact, but I'm gonna be breaking it down a little bit different, and if there's any goal that you have in mind that there's something that you wanna work on, this is a great time to start thinking about what kind of steps you wanna take to execute said goal or goals. So, let's kinda get right into the importance of why we set goals. So they say, like, it's better to set the goals, like, actually write them down. I 1000% agree to that. There was, like, a study they did where it's like it was at Harvard, where they did a study where a bunch of students wrote down their goals, and then they came back about 10 years, and they were able to implement a lot of the goals that they were working on, and because they kept applying the same type of pressure, same type of strategy of writing out their goals. And I can't help but think I like to personally write my goals because I feel like pen to paper, it's like energy. So the more that you're write them out on paper, the more it feels true, the more that you're actually putting more effort and intention behind it. So setting goals isn't just about wishful thinking. Often people think that setting goals is just about we're just thinking we want to do the no, 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 no. It's actually scientifically backed about how you could achieve success. A study showed that people who write out their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. And the reason why, because of that, is because it's creating clarity and it's also creating focus. Personally, this year, what I did was, well, this time last year, I wrote out a bunch of goals. But one thing that I kind of noticed when it hit January of 2024 was I was capping my goals. Like I wasn't thinking as big as I think I should have. So now when I talk about my goals, I'm going even bigger, like as big as I could possibly think. 'Cause just because 'cause you're working on the goal this year doesn't mean that you're not gonna copy and paste it into the next year to either continue working on it or now that you've achieved it, learn how ways to maintain it. So an activity I want you to kinda think about is just like writing down one goal that you would like to set for 2025. You don't have to put it in the chat if you feel comfortable, fine, but if you don't want to, it's totally cool. But think of just one goal that you really, really, really wanna set for the new year. Personally, for me is I would love to, drop a little bit more in weight. I know that's a goal that a lot of us set. It's usually surrounding exercise, but because I've already started in September and I'm doing pretty well, there's a weight goal that I have in mind. So I'm gonna continue to work on that the best way I can, but also maintain it in a way where I don't feel like I'm suffering. Cause yo, your girl loves food, and I'm not about to take that away completely to the point where I'm just miserable. Because again, in a weird way, food is one of my love languages. I'm gonna be very honest. So now that you have that goal in mind, I want to try an exercise with you if you're open to it, which is like visualizing it. I don't think we really real understand how important visualization really is. For context, whenever I meditate, I take a moment of just visualizing where I wanna see myself in the future and where I will see myself in the future and the things that I've accomplished. So just for a moment, if you're so comfortable, just shut your eyes for a moment. I want you to visualize yourself just a year from now. So let's say it's December 31st, 2025. You've achieved all your goals. What do you see? What do you hear? Honestly, like, what do you even smell? Like, are you on vacation? Are you just moving into a new home? Are you just purchased a new car? So you got the new car smell. What are you seeing? Are you seeing yourself in a new home, your business thriving? What do you hear around you? What's your environment like? It's so important for you to take a step back and actually see what you want your life to be. And it's almost sometimes you can even draw out a picture. I did that once where I knew I had an idea of, like, what I wanted my life to be that particular year, so I can't draw to save my life, but I drew a picture, and by the end of it, now I look back and it actually happened. The picture I drew was a sunset, and I just came home from vacation and about a couple of weeks ago, and I got to see the sunset, which I thought was, like, mad cool. So let's go here, Kevin. Declutter my apartment. Yes, Kevin, 1000%. I'm just gonna tap into that, Kevin, if you don't mind. When we talk about decluttering our space for mental clarity, not just for the fact of the aesthetic, but for mental clarity, it's important because by decluttering, you're creating space for new energy to come in. It's such an underrated thing when we donate or throw away or we shift or give things to others. By decluttering your space, it's allowing that new and good energy to come in. So let's keep it a buck. We don't need everything probably that we have in our spaces, and especially in an apartment at that. I live in an apartment. The more we declutter, the more mental clarity that we have. So that's a great goal to have. And now I want you to use that. I'm gonna use Kevin's example. Now I want you to use that. Your place is decluttered. What does it look like? How do you feel when you come home to it? How does it smell? It's just that, like, picture the day in your life of being in that space now that it's decluttered. What are your emotions? Like, just those type of questions to ask yourself for visualization will help you when it comes towards setting and implementing your goals. And I want you to also think about kind of using your example there, Kevin. If you were to have a conversation with your future self, what are some of the questions you would ask? I did this exercise again. You shut down your eyes and you ask yourself, your past self, what is it that you need from me in in the present moment? And you ask your future self, what does it like after accomplishing everything, what advice can you give me? There's it could be kind of heavy, but it's such a great exercise. I do it every now and then. And my past self, you would never say a word, wouldn't say much. And finally once said, "You're my voice. I need you to speak up." And I was like, "Okay, cool." My future self said, "Did you hear what your past self said? Yeah, you're going to be speaking up more because it's going to be needed in your future." So just having that conversation with yourself as well. You're not crazy or nothing like that. It's a very healthy thing to do just to kind of like that's part of setting your goals because 'cause you're doing the groundwork. Because anyone could write on a piece of paper, "These are the goals I have," but there's actual groundwork that you must do. And of course, we're going to use SMART goals. If you're not familiar with it, it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound, and evaluate and sorry, this is smarter, my bad. Evaluate and revised. The last two is so important. Specific is obviously you set specific goals, measurable to where you are in your life, achievable is it something that you can achieve, relevant is how is it relevant to where you are, time bound, what is the date that you're gonna have it done that you would like to have it accomplished. Evaluated is so important. Evaluate is important because now those are the moments when you go back and check it every quarter, every month. How am I doing with said goal? And revised. Whenever life is lifing, you may have to revise it. You may have to pivot it. You may have to change. And this ensures that you have clear, realistic, and adaptable goals so that once you set them, they're clear, they're realistic, and they're adaptable. Anyone could say, I want to make $100 million, but to say I'll make $100 million in a year, maybe starting from zero, is a little bit tricky, right? So that's why it's important to make these clear, realistic, adaptable goals. And like think about like a vague goal is like I want to be healthier. Everyone says that, right? But using smarter, you can say, I will exercise 30 minutes a day, 3 to 5 days a week. That's really break it down for let's say 90 days. And I will review every month to see where I'm at. I will review every month to see if it's achievable. I'll review every month to see if I'm on the right path or do I need to pivot and move around. So that's another one. So if smart, it'll be smarter goals. Now, in the midst of all of that, there's going to be moments where you have these limiting beliefs, these roadblocks. It happens to all of us. It happened to me even this year, where you're on like a really good momentum, and all of a sudden life comes in and tries to knock you down, and then you start thinking maybe I'm not good enough. Um, we all face limiting beliefs, no matter what we do, and you may not feel like you have enough time or you're not good enough, and these are the things we say to ourselves, and it blocks us and holds us back. The good news is you could always reframe them. I always say that your vocabulary, if you shift your vocabulary, you could shift your life. By saying something, we've heard, I have to go to work, but saying something instead of that is I get to go to work. Just by shifting the vocabulary, you could completely change your life. So I want you to, for a moment, just reflect on your biggest internal obstacle that you've had with yourself. And if you're comfortable, you could just think about it or you could write it down, then reframe it in a positive affirmation, just kinda like how I just did. If you want, you could put it in the chat instead of like, "I have to go to work," "I get to go to work." Just having this by changing the vocabulary. If you're comfortable, you could put it in the chat. If not, you could just say it out loud for yourself. I'll give you a moment for that. And yes, peace, absolutely. You're right, Kevin, like, when you come home, if your place is feeling decluttered, if it's feeling as if you now feel, like that warm hug, peace is what could come over you, and you're gonna be more into being more productive and doing more things. 1000% agree. That's a great example there. So, let's also talk about breaking down big goals. This is like my bread and butter here. I love breaking down big goals into smaller goals and just doing that 1% a day. So I'll give you an example how I did it. I wrote down all the goals that I had for 2024 and I broke them down into categories. Next week we're going to kind of go over that and creating our action plan. It'll be the same time on here 7 p.m. on Sunday, December 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So you could definitely join us for that. And how I did it was this. I would write down all my goals, break them down financial, family, wellness, business, personal, all of it. I broke them down into different categories, wrote out whatever goals I had for each category. Once I did that, I then looked at I broke it down per quarter. So there's 4 years, sorry, 4 quarters in 1 year. So I broke it down per quarter. After I broke it down per quarter, typically it's about 3 months, 3 to 4 months each quarter, typically. Once I did that, then I would break it down per month. What am I focused on every month? Then I broke it down per week. And then I would say, okay, every week I would look at the list of my goals for that week and then I would break it down per day. It's so much more easier when you break it down versus saying, I have all these goals. I need to do all of them all one time. When you break them down to that type of like let's say layering it down that way, it's more manageable and you have a higher success rate of actually achieving them versus just saying every month, "I have all these goals, blah, blah, blah." When you break them down into smaller steps, because the 1% a day, I think we run away from it because we see everybody accomplish everything all the time, and that's just somebody's, like, 30-second highlight reel. But when you break them down, like the 1% a day, and you're just working at it, 1%, 2%, yo, that adds up over time. The more that you're just adding in a little bit of this every day, okay, You don't have to sit at your desk working on something for 8 hours. You could just do like a bit every day and put more energy into that hour than you would if you were prolonging it for 8. So I want you to just think of when you're creating your goals and once you finally write it all out, how are you gonna break it down per quarter? Like and then after the per quarter, how are you gonna break it down per month? And after per month, how are you gonna break down per week? It's far more manageable versus trying to just do everything one shot. Let's go back. Sorry, Kevin, I'm coming. I got to bless someone else. I get to bless someone else with my professions who Yeah, 1000%. I get to bless someone else with my possessions who will because how much stuff do we really need? By donating and creating these different piles, listen, like I donated a bunch of stuff this year. I just found a cooler that's been sitting in my closet for I don't know how many years I haven't touched. I called my mom up. I said, "Hey, I have this cooler. Do you know if your church needs it?" And she literally called me today and said, "Listen, we could drop it off next Saturday." I said, "Perfect. We'll drop it off next Saturday." Because now I'm they do suppers for the community and stuff, and I wasn't sure if they sometimes needed a cooler to put, like, ice and drinks in it, hey, here you go. I'm not using it, but if I can give it to another organization for them to use it, by all means, you get to bless other people with your possessions because maybe we just needed it just for that one moment, and maybe we don't need it anymore. So yeah, bless somebody else with it. Just give it to somebody else. We don't need all that overconsumption of items. I love that. I love that, Kevin. Thank you for sharing. And let's also tap into accountability for a moment because we could set all the goals we want. I'll give you an example. I saw this post the other day where this gentleman was saying, we're in our silent era. We're not going to be sharing our next move. I used to think the same way until I started finding my tribe. The more that you find your tribe of people that have the same values of you, have the same mindset when it comes towards how you want to move, what you want your life to look like, setting goals, setting action plans, things like that, the more you want to share with them because they're willing to share with you and you're just feeding off of ideas. Cuz here's the thing, we're all here to be of service to each other. Now, I understand that not everybody is going to want to be of service to you, and some people have their own stuff that they're working on or dealing with or working through. But at the same time, when you start finding people and building a tribe that is matching your values and matching where you're coming from and which moves that you're trying to make, things seem and feel differently. And they don't you want to share with them, you want feedback from them because it's a genuine feedback. It's a I want you to win and you want them to win back and forth. So, yeah, I guess you could work in silence, but I do believe having an accountability partner and sharing what your goals are so they can be like, "Hey, how's that going?" It does make a massive difference. For example, I have seasonal depression, and there's a few people where I tell them in the fall, "I need you to check on me just to make sure that I'm doing the things I need to do." One of the things that I know that works for me all the time is working out. Exercise is the one thing that helps me the most, one activity that helps me the most, just because it releases endorphins. So I have told people about, particularly my brother, I've told him about me working out, and now we get up at 6 a.m. He lives where he lives, I live where I live. He calls me in the morning to make sure that my behind is up and that I'm working out. And that's my accountability partner in that realm. And I have other people who call me to make sure, like, hey, it's gotten darker now. How are you doing with your seasonal depression? So by me speaking up on what goes on with me, I've been able to work and be my best self. So that's why I do believe like having that help and speaking up and telling people what's going on. But again, telling people that matches your values and understands where you're coming from is huge, which means that no longer being around people and sharing environments and spaces and energy with people who don't serve you. Heavy on that. Because if you feel like you can't really be like vulnerable, because life is always going to be lifing. So if you don't feel like you could be vulnerable with them, you can move in silent, but why not have help with your goals along the way? That's just how I see it. There's nothing wrong with having a little extra help when it comes towards your goals and creating an action plan because everyone can win and you could be of service to them as well as they work through their goals and create their own action plan. So that's all I got for today. My successful Sundays, I'm in and I'm out. If you have any questions, I'll leave it for a space right now. You can just ask in the chat there. Right now we're wrapping up for 2024. So I do have a couple of things. Like I said, next week we're gonna be doing action plan. The week after that, we're gonna be doing vision board. We're gonna go over vision boarding and stuff like that. And y'all know where to follow me. The links are in the description. Coaching one-on-one, we have that available as well for end of year coaching. We have like a deal that we're popping up right now. If you're interested, by all means, just send me an email or you can send me a message and let's work together so we could set your 2025 up for nothing but success. No, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you coming through, no doubt. And that's all I got, y'all. I hope you enjoyed today's Successful Sundays. As I said, I'm in and I'm out. I start on time. This will be up in a little bit. I'm going to edit it. And then for those who missed it, y'all can tune in. Hope y'all have a blessed week ahead of you. And as always, y'all, see you on Tuesday for the next episode of the Dope Life Podcast. Walk with peace, y'all. Walk with love.